Welcome to Lunch and Learn here on September 11th, 2018. Lunch and Learn is sponsored as usual by the League of Women Voters of Salina, which is a not-for-profit, nonpartisan organization of both women and men. It's a part of a state and national organization that works to promote citizen action on local, state, and national issues, and to provide good information, nonpartisan information. I'm Ann Zimmerman. I'm the Vice President of the Salina League of Women Voters. And we urge you to register to vote, which you can easily do on your phone or your computer at ksvotes.org. And of course, then after you're registered to vote, be sure and vote in the November 6th election. Today's speaker is Jane Anderson. She is the Executive Director of the Friends of the River Foundation. She's been in that job for 3 years, and she is going to give us an update on the renewal effort of the Smoky Hill River. So welcome, Jane Anderson.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It really doesn't feel like 3 years, but sometimes time really does fly when you're having fun. And this has been an immense, amazing, hard, and really fun project. So what I'd like to do with you today is kind of give you a little overview of what the Friends of the Foundation is, because a lot of people make assumptions that I'm working for the city. I do not work for the city. We're part of it's a 501c3, it's a charity. And so it's separate. It's been a beautiful partnership with the city of Salina. We're getting along very well with them. We feel like we're the public voice for the river, and have been used by the city as bouncing off ideas on what the public thinks. I know Martha Tasker asked me, what have I been hearing out in the public? So we serve a purpose for them also. And so I'm going to give you a slight overview of that, and then we'll move into what's happening with the renewal process and how did that all come about. Making assumptions, you may know all of this, you may know none of it. I always make assumptions that people don't know very much at all. This is our newest map of the river, of what's happening. The map I have in this PowerPoint, don't worry if it seems like the trail's not in the right place, that's because it's not. This one, the yellow line, is the dream for the trail, and is an accurate portrayal of where we think it will be. So that's just a little disclaimer I want to make before we get into this. So, what is the Friends of the River Foundation? Our main goal is to strive to restore the old Smoky Hill River channel to a flowing river that will create recreation and economic life for Salina. Salina's first pioneers, they settled right on the banks of the Smoky Hill River in 1858. The first ferry went across the river where the Iron Avenue Bridge is located. There are 6.8 miles of river that run through Salina, which was a wonderful asset for milling, swimming, fishing, boating, etc. The downside to being a river town was the flooding, and there were at least 4 major floods, the last big one in 1951. That's why you have a dike going around your town, floodgates, and a new channel on the east side of the community, and an old riverbed that went from beautiful to a trash-filled, silted-in ghost of a river. So, what have the Friends of the River been doing? The Friends of the River Foundation, it was founded in 2009 by 6 people. This group spearheaded the Smoky Hill River Renewal Master Plan development. The Smoky Hill River Master Plan was adopted by the city of Salina in 2010, and it was used by city planners in capital improvement project planning. The Friends also sponsored the 2013 economic impact analysis by the master plan by Consult Econ Incorporated. The Friends led the grassroots campaign, Yes for a Better Salina, in the spring of 2016 for a small increase in Salina sales tax from 8.4% to 8.75%. It is a package that includes streets, property tax stabilization, parks and trails, capital improvements, economic development, and the renewal of the Smoky Hill River channel. The vote passed by 6,282 yes to 5,416 no, for a difference of 866 votes. So I would personally like to thank you for all the yes votes in the room. You don't have to tell me if you or no. That helped win this vote and allowed this river to be restored. The tax dollars that will be used to restore the river will be the sales tax dollars that paid for Kenwood Cove for the next 20 years. The Friends are also trying to step into education. We have partnered with Kansas Wesleyan University and with the generous grant from the Greater Salina Community Foundation Pat Mullen Science Grant. There are now science experiments being conducted along the Old Smoky Hill River channel for the next 3 years by college students. The Friends of the River Foundation is part of the Cultural Crawl for 7th graders, Saline County Water Day for 4th graders, the Rolling Hills Zoo Safari Adventure Day, and Arts Infusion. The Friends have partnered with the Salina Arts and Humanities Spartled Puppeteers for a roving puppet for the Smoky Hill River Festival, and they also are going to be part of the Arts Infusion program for kindergarten through 3rd graders to learn about science through puppetry. That's our new venture, and that'll be premiered at the next River Festival. We're very excited about that program. The Friends have we've been participating in cleanups along the Old Smoky Hill River channel for now nearly 10 years. We are now partnering with a committee and become one of the projects of Fall Fix-Up and Spring Spruce-Up. We also have group contact us for cleanups on the river. Some of these groups have been CASA, Southeast Saline FFA Club, Kansas Wesleyan University Classes, Salina Heights Christian Youth Group, Zoo Teen Leadership Team, and etc. These efforts not only pick up trash coming from our storm drains into the river, but we have also been cutting and poisoning an invasive species, bush honeysuckle, that has become a large problem throughout the Midwest. Cleanups have offered the Friends an opportunity to allow people to engage in nature and know they have made a difference, as well as learn about the problem that all our waterways face. So, what's now happening with the Smoky Hill River Restoration project? Since 2016, it's been one of the most exciting the Friends of the River Foundation's history. The Friends had the only non-city employee seat in a search committee for the selection of the firm that is overseeing the Smoky Hill renewal. So the engineering firm HDR was hired in 2017, and a 26-member steering committee has been formed with 4 members from the Friends of the River. The old channel of the Smoky Hill River is 6.8 miles long, and the bypass has injured the flow. With the silting problem, there is one part of the river that has an estimation of 8 feet of silt, and that's over by the Ohio Strait Bridge. However, the old channel is still really important, serves a very important function in our community. It removes stormwater, and so this is a great map of all the storm drains that are coming into from Salina. It drains off 5 square miles of urban runoff. As you can see, in the old days, it was quite different when it was really a living river. And what's happened now is, because it's so silted in on the east part of Salina, that it's very difficult to get water to come through at all. In fact, Martha Tasker told me that when they try to run in water for the River Festival or the car show, it takes almost a day or 2 to get to Oakdale Park. That's slow running water, but that's where most of the silting problem is. The silting areas, because of the storm drains, it's a really up and down river, because with storm drains, it's actually desilted some of itself, so those things can be good, yes.
You said it was the most silt at the Ohio Street Bridge, but aren't there 2 Ohio Street bridges?
Oh, there is, yeah, sorry.
The
I
south
kind of
one.
forget that.
The south
Yeah,
one
the
or
one
north?
over by Crawford Street, that's
Okay.
where,
So the south.
when you come from Billburg to Ohio, there's no storm drains there. And, well, there's a few, but it's actually where, if you go look at the old riverbed back behind the soccer fields at Billburg Park, you can see it's just like it looks like a little tiny creek bed, not a riverbed. And it's because it's just been filled in with silt over the years. So that's what's happened when it's not. What happens with agriculture, we have obviously a beautiful place for agriculture. The downside of uncovering the prairie is it's picking up silt, and that's why your rivers are running with dirt. So when you get slow water running through this old channel, it still has a little bit of water coming through. As soon as that water slows down, all the silt starts coming down to to the floor of the river, and that's why you have a silt problem, because we didn't have enough water flow to push it through. So that's one of the reasons. So anyway, it is serving, this old riverbed actually serves an incredibly important part of our storm drainage and flood control. So a lot of people don't understand that it's really still serving a very important purpose. So desilting this area will not only be beautiful, but it will serve a real practical purpose also. So, the City of Salina, the steering committee, and HDR, that's our the company that's overseeing the restoration of the river, with Martha Tasker as your project manager. We have met, the steering committee, we've met 11 times now. We've had 3 public meetings. It's been a very transparent process, and we've had over 300 in attendance of those meetings. And there's been 3 surveys with over 1,000 responses, and there have been over 2,600 Facebook Live presentation views. What's happened in this time period is the original master plan has been updated with the current needs, and the design shreds are now finished. And we're talking about design shreds, is what are we going to do now? We had the original master plan, but it was finished in about 2009. Now we have a downtown that's totally exploding in restoration. It changed sort of the way the river was viewed in sort of a different way. So we mean updating the master plan. It's not like you're getting rid of it. You're actually just shifting a little bit of the focus on where the importance of the restoration of what you want to spend your money is now. So where are we in this process now? It is now through the design shreds where everybody, steering committee, city, public said, here's what we want to see on the river. And so all that was finished last summer, and now it's gone into the engineering where they're really putting all the ideas and they're putting it into a practical plan that we could actually use. And that's where it is. That hasn't been finished yet, it's in process. That's why you drive by the river, it looks like nothing's happening, but a lot is happening in the background to get us ready for construction. So we were hoping in November there will be a public meeting so we hope, I don't really have a correct date on that, we've been shifting that date around a little bit. Love to have everybody attend that, and you'll still have the ability to have an opinion about what's happened there. The next year, what's going on? 2019, well, let's go backwards here, sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. I wanted to show you, this is what happened from all the input from the community, from the steering committee, from all the surveying. This actually really did decide the focus of what people really wanted on the river. And this has been so interesting to me because the first one, in all their history, HDR said they'd never seen a community that says water quality was #1. And I had to chuckle a little bit because we had just talked about we want water in the river so much. I mean, I've just said that so many times that maybe that was the message that got out. But what I also really believe happened is the tough Midwestern spirit of really practical people that really do want the river back. And I just said I think it said a lot about the people that live here in such a good way. Anyway, the second thing that always comes to the top was the multi-use trails. That has been, every time I go out in the public, every time I'm in front of any younger group especially, the trails is what triggers emotions. So we knew that was super important, as well as obviously the access, like trailheads and everything is connected to the trails, a way to get on it, that it's accessible. And this is another thing that HDR found really interesting about this also, that enhanced bridge structures came up really high. I also think that shows the practical nature of the people that live here. And also, if you drive over the bridges, most of them are culvert bridges, meaning a pipe bridge. So maybe people had really paid attention to that. I don't know. I just thought, personally, it just said something about the incredible people that live in this area. The other thing that has always come up to the top is boating. When we talk about boating, we don't mean motorized boats. We mean really canoeing, kayaking, things that are quieter. And so that has always been really important. The venues for public performance and events. And then also, obviously, the people are hoping that it could be used for the downtown for redevelopment and hopefully to improve the neighborhoods around it. Fishing opportunities, and we'll get into that in just a minute. And bird watching, those were up toward the top, not at the very top, but obviously people are looking for things to do. And we feel like when the designs, and we'll show you some of the designs that came out of this, all of this was really addressed on what people are looking for in Salina. So you can really feel happy that the public had an input, was listened to, and that really affected on what's going to happen on this river. Okay, this is where we're trying to get to, and this is harder than I thought it would ever be. A little naive. It was good I was naive before I took this job. What will happen? What do we have to get to? We have to get to the 30% design thing, and what that means is, what does it mean? It means we're gonna, when that comes out, we were hoping it was November. I think it's gonna be pushed back a couple months, but it's really close. What it does is it gives us not just beautiful renderings, but it gives us the real scope of what's gonna happen, like how wide's the river gonna be, where is it gonna be. I mean, that sounds weird that I'm saying where, and we'll get to that in a little bit, but also how much is it gonna cost? And of course, that of course is essential, because you can talk all you want until we have estimates of cost. We're not exactly sure what all we're going to get to do. There'll be about 20 million. The tax itself raised about 27 million, but when it gets done with paying for all the stuff you need to, we'll have 20 million from the city tax dollars to do construction. And also,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's like what time? Is that over time?
it's over a 20-year period. The sales tax that was passed was for 20 years. So they'll bond out this project. So that's how it'll be paid for.
So use it now, but pay the bonds back.
Right, just like, it's very similar to how Kenwood Cove was paid for. It's very similar. That's how they did that. That was a 10-year project, and it's finished. I think don't quote me. I can't remember when that's actually done. Do you remember, Kay? I don't remember either. If it isn't, it's super. I think it may be finished now. I can't remember when that happened. The cool part that's happening, when we were going through the interview process, one of the questions we asked, do you have a relationship with the Corps of Engineers? And HDR really, their office that this is based out of, their team is out of Kansas City and Omaha. And they've worked with the Corps of Engineers in that region quite often. And so what was really lovely about that is we had an interview with the Corps about 2 months later. It's been a remarkable process of getting, I give HDR full credit for this, of creating those channels. And the lovely thing that may come out of this, it's called Section 1135. I mean, they name things by numbers. But what it really means, this project, for them, means it goes into a place that they made a mistake and destroyed something destroyed an ecological living something. And our project is absolutely that. It didn't mean to destroy the 7 miles of river running through Salina. That really wasn't on purpose. They were trying to divert flooding, but when no one looked ahead a million years later and saw now you have an absolutely destroyed ecosystem. So this project fits so beautifully into their parameters of this thing. This is considered a small project for the Corps. $10 million, of course, does not seem small to me, but when you realize the kind of capacity and what they actually do, this is a itty bitty part of what they do. But the lovely part about this is our office is based out of Kansas City that oversees this region. And I've had to learn as I go, because obviously I've had no experience with the Corps. And what I didn't realize when they signed an agreement with the city of Salina in November to start a study, I didn't realize what a big deal that was. I just thought, oh, that's great. We thought it was coming, and here it is. Well, I realize now that was really a huge breakthrough, because they don't usually take on new projects. They've got a list already that they're working on. So for them to take on an additional project is actually remarkable. And what's also remarkable about it, from what I've heard, is that we're the #1 project in their office in Kansas City in the 1135 project. So what that says is they actually really want to do this project. And every time I've met them, I get absolutely that feeling that they are raring to go, that can't wait to get their hands on this project. And the reason for that, I think there's several reasons. Most of the core projects are, out in the country with Canopolis or places that aren't close to people. This one's running through an urban area, and he told me they never get to do that. They've had some urban projects in Kansas City, but not in the middle of Kansas. And so they're super excited, and they also do understand the implications for this community and what it can do for us. And I think that is very exciting to them in general. They're known as doers, the Kansas City office, and so we're counting on that and hoping that they can do whatever they do well. So it doesn't mean we get, we're in the process of working through federal government stuff, which is a whole nother world. The one thing I will say for Jerry Moran, we have been in contact with our senators and representatives, and Jerry Moran is the person I give a lot of credit for trying to help us and also put it in front of the nation for hopefully we can get in there. So this is complicated and not as simple as I was hoping. The funding part, the study and all that, they're ready to go. It's actually trying to find funding. So I just would like to ask if anyone is interested in politics in here, and you could put a good word in for the 113 projects to your centers. That does make more difference than I realized. They do listen, actually. So they've been really trying to help us, and I've been very pleased with their response. It's been awesome. So just to give him a kudos, sometimes we don't hear anything good coming out of the national government, but I've experienced something different than that. So anyway, what that means is they're a shared cost. They pay 75%. The city of Salina pays 20%. It has a cost share in that. However, the beautiful part of the cost share for the city of Salina, you can use all of your city property that they own along the river, and they own 80% of it. So they're not even going to have to use our 20 million, I don't think. I think they've got enough just in property to do a match. So everything's beautiful that way, and we're very excited about that. It is a process, and it has slowed down our project. I hate to say that, but working with the federal government is not simple, and I do think it's slowed down the project probably by a year already. And I hope that that it's worth waiting for. Obviously, the $10 million is probably worth waiting for when all we have is 20. So it's going to make a huge difference in what we can accomplish in the river. So we think it's a great investment for our tax dollars at the federal level to help a community regrow itself. So,
James,
yeah.
when you talk about 75-25, does that mean that the city's land value is at $2.5 million and the Corps kicks in $7.5 million, or is the Corps' $10 million that's an actual dollar amount they're putting toward it, and the city's land accounts additionally? How does that? How does the land figure toward that match?
Do you remember? I may be a little confused on that. I think the Corps has to do I think they come up with 10 million, but we have to have a share we have to come up with more than 10 million. Does that make sense? Our share, theirs is 10, we have to have 25% of 10 million to prove that we're serious. Yeah, that's what it means.
They were great to work with.
Yeah, it's not, their 10 million is not the city's dollars. Does that make sense? That's from the federal government. We have to prove that we're in the game with some skin ourselves, that we have something. Basically, we have, they're not coming into a project with no cash and nothing. And I know that happens sometimes, as I've heard them talk about that.
So it's at least $2.5 million worth of land counting toward that? Is that?
Yeah, I'm not really good at math, so you figure, yes.
I'm saying 75-25 is what
Yeah.
More like 33.
Yeah.
I mean, if they are 3/4, and so 10 million is 3/4 of the total, so
Right, so you calculate
I would
that
be more
way.
like 33
Yeah.
million, 33, 3.3 million maybe.
Right.
Right.
Thank you.
So,
That's
but
it.
we know even with our tax dollar, I mean, we have that, and so it's a valid project for them. The other thing that was really interesting when I was invited to the meetings with the Corps, and it was really awesome to get to meet them. The one thing that they asked me straight up, and they asked me, are the people of Salina for this project? They do not want to get themselves in a place where they're gonna have people with signs hating them because they've come here. So I can assure them that, you know, after going through an election, of course, there's always people that are against any kind of tax dollars, and I get that. I'm not, obviously not that naive. However, what I experienced personally is that this community is really behind this project on the whole and are looking forward to it. And I could look him right in the eye and tell him that, and I think that reassured them that they weren't going to get themselves in a place where people are mad, you know, coming out, and they don't want that, they don't need that kind of attention. So that was really interesting to have them ask that question. So
This is also a question, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think in terms of dollars for that. The first election that resulted in a not yet vote,
right. Mhm.
wasn't that for 80 million and some? And this is
No, that's actually a misperception of what happened in that. They were actually looking for about $27 million. And what happened when you
in
look
the
at
earlier election.
right, and when you look at the whole master plan of it's showing a master plan is a vision for a community. It's going to include redevelopment. It's going to include city redevelop, everything they can imagine that could happen in that. And so when you look at the whole thing, it's way more than 27 million, but that's supposed to be a 50-year vision. And so when that happened, people got confused on what was city and what was private. They got confused on what's happening when. And I think because of that, I think that was one of the reasons they failed. It got misinterpreted. And so even though it is a very beautiful plan and well done, people did not understand what they were really asking for in the first thing. And so we learned to scale back our wording. And so really our wording was, we just want water flow. And that actually really helped people understand that it wasn't asking for all this redevelopment along the banks and everything. We just want a river. And so I even got rid of trails and canoeing, unless I was with young people. Whatever crowd you're in, you try to bring in what they might be interested in. However, what I realized when I just stuck to the water, I realized that's what people really wanted. And you saw that in the surveying, and they just want a river back. And so as soon as people understood that, I think that really helped make them understand what the first phase of this river really is about and where your city tax dollars are really going. It's really going to help bring this river back from a dead place into a living ecological river that can be used for a lot of different people. And so that's where our message was. And I do think it was the right time, and I do think we did a better messaging, and God was good. That's all I have to say. And the stars were aligned. That's right. So anyway, this is showing some of where what's happened with the Corps. And so this is a little map to tell you what would they do, what is their purpose in this project. Their purpose would be dredging. And why is dredging so important? Well, when you dredge a riverbed isn't just a little channel. That will not sustain fish life. So if the Corps becomes part of this project, their way of measuring their success is fish life, because if they have fish life, the rest of it is healthy. And so it will be dredged in a way where there will be pooling and shallow areas. So it's not just like a little, because someone asked me, why can't we just get in there and dig it? Because what I've realized, because we don't know how to dig it, and we don't know how to set this up properly to last for generations. That's why you need all these people that they've spent their whole life being water engineers. I've learned a lot about what we don't know and why you need to have these people help us. So when you see what they're going to do, they're going to be dredging the river. And when you see this blue spot here, this is outlined where we think we're going to dump a lot of the silt. The pond itself will be reconnected to the river in two places. And by reconnecting it, it will bring the pond up about 6 feet. The reason you would do that is a couple reasons. First of all, you'd have a pond that's a lot bigger, cooler, and better for fish life. The other part that's super cool about that is you got a whole circle for canoeing that we never had before. You could do a circle out in Lakewood. And the lovely thing here is you can see on this map, this part of the pond that used to be would be filled with a lot of the sediment. It wouldn't hold all of it, but it'll hold a lot of it. And you know, we're not exactly a hilly community. What this will do is create a whole new landscape for trails in this area, and that's very exciting for people that like that kind of stuff. And then you can see, we call it canoe trails. These are actually canoe trails, so it's not just a straight line right into the little lake. It's actually all these little canoe trails that are real low, that they call them. And so you have all these places to canoe, and you could connect and could do a whole circle, so you could just stay right out here in canoeing. And we believe that this will be, what we're hoping for will be planted in appropriate plantings we already know it's a great birding area. And we know that we would like to create an area that is really great for wildlife. I totally believe this will be a place to draw birders and others that enjoy the outdoors. And so we feel like this is a tourist draw for Salina, Kansas. And I'm saying that because we've been really mentored by the Green Foundation in Denver, Colorado, and he's been out here several times. He's a real ball of energy, but the wonderful thing that he always tells me is we're not thinking big enough about ourselves. And when he said, you guys are going to be a tourist draw for the area, I started laughing because I just thought it was kind of funny. And that really did not sit well with him, and not at all. So I had to be like, just kidding. But when he came back to the point is we don't think well enough of ourselves, we don't think big enough about ourselves. And I think this was the moment for us to think differently about the prairie, and that it has lovely things that could draw. We have an immense amount of ability to have animals, fish life, bird life. We are one of the biggest immigration areas. Why not tap into that for part of tourism dollars? So there's a lot of things that I think can be really lovely about this area. This is just showing the new map, which you're seeing right there. This is showing some of the ideas of what's going to happen where. So we won't go, I don't know how much time I have. We might come back to that, but I'm going to move on because I'm going to show you some of the renderings, which are really fun. This is really Greeley Bridge, which is over behind the fairgrounds. Do you know what I'm talking about? Everybody knows. Okay, this is an example of what the trail system is going to probably look like. As you can see, part of this is walled to make it real lovely. So this is in the urban area of our river. Some of it's going to be completely natural. There will be a trail around all 7 miles, which will connect to the trail on the dike, which, think about this as a calling card to this community. We're going to have almost 30 miles of trails in and around Salina. That is really a calling card, especially to outdoorsy people or young people. And I'm telling you, any time in front of young people, I just say trails, they're in. I've never experienced this in any, I used to work for colleges. I've just never experienced young people so excited about a project before. So I totally believe the trail system is going to be a calling card for a community, for people I'm hoping that will want to come back and live here and raise their families. And also I'm hoping that it becomes a thing that will help draw businesses. So I totally believe that the economic impact of this is probably more than what I've imagined. This is also another rendering over by Midway. Midway, most people don't know the name of that, but if you think of the Tony's Event Center, the old Bicentennial Center, the road that goes next to that, as you turn in off of Ohio, come down, if you really think about it, when you're a local, you know where everything is, so you think, well, everybody knows where things are, but actually a visitor, it's not that easy to find the Tony's Event Center. It's not that easy to find Oakdale Park. And think about Oakdale Park, what it has in that park. You know, it has one of the big, the Smoke Hill River Festival. That's the biggest event in the community, or the car show, drawing all these outside groups into our community. So what we know with that big signage out there, that is actually one of the, Ohio coming into that park system. We wanted to make sure that this was also a calling card for the river. This would be the river. What I ask everyone to do, go try to find the river, because most people really don't know where it is, because it's been a ghost river for a long time. So this is just showing a little beautiful fountain. This is a water feature. This would be a trailhead. A trailhead is where you could pull off and get out of your car and get on the trails. So this is just a way to enhance already the gateway into one of the most important parks and fairgrounds, and also the Expo Center. I served on a committee for that. I had no idea how much business they have over there. We have, take a look at that. We have so many horse shows, cattle shows, I don't know, miniature donkey shows. there's so many people from coming outside our community into this part of the community. So we wanted to make sure that the river played an important part of showing off its beauty. This is an important part of what we believe is really important. This is actually Iron Avenue looking off the bridge. We're hoping that'll be a new bridge, almost convinced that'll be probably one of our #1 projects. Okay, when I talked about where is the river, where can you find it? Well, this river over there is going to be moved slightly east, and because it's too close to the railroad tracks, and HDR has said, which it's easier to move a river than to try to make the railroads do anything. So there you are. And after we get Kansas Wesleyan with the railroad running right next to it, I totally get it, because wow, they do whatever they please, and that's okay, it's their stuff. But this is going to be shifted slightly east, and so then you have room for a beautiful new plaza, and we think that's super important right now because of what's happening in downtown. There'll be a place to hang out, to be part of the community, and then the steps down, and then that is really called a boardwalk. And what that means is there'll be a boardwalk all the way from Iron Avenue, we're hoping all the way into Oakdale Park on the west side. But why would you do that when you have, is this the only trail? No, the only time the trail is divided is in the urban areas. So in Oakdale Park, you're gonna have a trail coming in. So you got the trail coming through Oakdale, right? But obviously, some people are gonna be, a trail needs to be 10 to 12 feet wide. It's gonna be a multi-use trail, meaning bicycling, and other people are gonna be on there too. So then you got all these people hanging around downtown too. So the boardwalk is gonna be no bicycles. It's for grannies like me and others with babies, etc., that want to just take a stroll next to the water. And so this one is for more fast moving, and this one is for people just want to stroll and enjoy it, not having to worry about running over by bicycle. If anyone's been in Denver on their trails, you feel like you're gonna get killed. Sometimes there's so many bikes, it's amazing how much their trails are used. So anyway, if you're looking behind that building, is just a rendering of the new car museum, which when they asked if that really gonna happen, our steering committee is like, none of us actually really knew. So we had to ask, it is really gonna happen. So anyway, it'll be one of the last things done downtown, that's what I've heard. So anyway.
Sorry, dumb question, but the
Yeah.
building back at the back, that
the car
you want to
museum.
use the car museum?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just,
Are they gonna be removing some of the buildings on the other side of 4th Street to achieve that?
that's private property, and from how I've understood what the city is not interested in taking private property, only if they absolutely have to. I think there's one abandoned building that will be right in the middle of the trail. It's abandoned, it's not in this area. But the rest of it, that's private. They could do whatever they want. Well, hopefully not do whatever they want, but it's their property, and hopefully that is where private dollars come in for reinvestment. Has nothing to do with the city. This is how I look at it. We're building the most fantastic roadway. It's better than any roadway we could ever spend money on, because it's going to be so super beautiful too. But with that, a new roadway does allow for people for redevelopment. And I think this will do that also, but that's all private dollars. That's all their vision. It has really nothing to do with what the city's project is. This is not going to take down a building. They're actually creating a little piece of land for us to put
Right.
This will be a fundraising effort. When people ask what are the Friends' purpose, are you guys done now? And I'm like, no, we're just getting started. Because obviously we have intentions of having education and cleanups and a way to expose children to nature. You would be so amazed on how few children know the name of the river in this town. They don't know the name of the river. They really don't have natural experiences like you would, as probably you did as children. It's a different world. And so we feel like there's a huge purpose for the Friends to help that happen in a very positive way. But our other purpose is to do fundraising projects along the river, because even, I know that sounds like a huge amount of money, which it is, but even so, there won't be enough money for this plaza. We will be fundraising for that, I'm sure of it. I'm almost 100% positive. So we feel like we'll be doing important work along the river to help make it the best it can be. This is right behind the community theater. This was the question, this is the thing that I was honestly the most surprised about as a person. There's the old mill dam that's still standing. It's actually ready to fall. It's really gonna come down if they don't do anything to it. But the question was to the steering committee and to the public, how important is the mill dam to everybody? Do you wanna keep it or do you wanna have boating? I'm not kidding, 100% boating. 100%. I couldn't believe it that history did not play more power then, but I know that HDR was super relieved because that could have been a dam is always a danger zone for drowning. And so I'm gonna be really glad it's gone also. It will be gone, but instead of, there'll be 5 2-feet drop. If you think of the community theater, now we're looking off Iron Street Bridge the other way. There'll be 5 2-feet drops. It'll take it all the way behind that, almost to the next street, and there'll be canoe chutes. So it'll make probably one of the most fun areas on the river for canoeing. So instead of being a place where you can't canoe, it's going to be the most cool part. This is, the schedule of what's been happening. So there's been so much happening, and I can't wait for construction. But the great part is we do believe 2019, if everything goes well with the Corps, we're hoping they'll be doing all the right-of-way acquisitions, the property line, getting all that, getting easements. The wonderful thing, the YMCA has been such a great, beautiful partner in this. They want the trails to go right through their property. They want to be one of the boat drops. I mean, they're playing in this. They have 2 people on the steering committee. She told me, we want to be a boat rental place and we want to rent bikes. She goes, she's seeing it as a way to help the Y have a new purpose in such a beautiful way. So that's incredible what's happening. And so hopefully, cross your fingers, hope the Corps is going to come along just like they're supposed to, that will go into construction in 2020, which is very close. Martha Tasker is the project manager for this, and you're in good hands. And she even makes me listen and obey, and that's not an easy thing for me to do. So she has a way of getting things happening. So here's the question: what can you do as a person? You can help us in many ways. Please contact your political people and tell them that this project is really important. The 1135 project is really important. We need people to help us make sure they know that we're all in this together if you feel like this is an important project. We also have all these cleanups. Our next one is October 20th. We are part of Fall Fix-Up, and it's from 7:30 to noon. It's really fun. I know it sounds weird that picking up trash and cutting down bushes is fun, but you have this huge sense of accomplishment afterwards. That is really important. We are working on the Y MCA trails. They don't have enough staffing to help them. We are it for helping them. So I feel like it's a really important project. We also obviously are looking for funding, and we are a charity, so we are always searching for funding to keep our doors open and also for these beautiful projects. So we know that, and nothing else, we hope that you will be a good steward and say good words about the river around town. Because what I'm finding, I still find a few people who have never heard about the project yet. So just every now and then I find someone, but mostly they've heard about it, but we want to make sure they know that it is coming, that the tax dollars, that we have been good stewards of your tax dollars, and that the most beautiful part about what I love about this project, it's for absolutely everyone, from a 3-year-old to a 90-some-year-old.
You too. The inevitable hard question: what happens when the river is low to no flow?
Oh, that's a really
How
good
are they going to
question.
handle that?
And that's a really good question, because in 2006 we had a severe drought. And the one thing they did look at, they looked at Lakewood to see if it was really groundwater fed, and it's not, so that's out. But what we know, Canopolis, the city of Salina already has, Martha Tasker calls it a cup. We've purchased the cup for the water to be held back. And so I do believe
It's
probably,
not a cup, though.
well, it's a large bowl, Canopolis, a very large one. But I actually see that as where we will be purchasing recreation rights. And I think that will be part of that whole thing for, there is enough water to do that. And there is enough water to run through both places. People have asked, is the east side gonna be dry now? It will not be. There'll be water in both. And so the cool part about this is we can control water flow because there will be silting basins when it first comes in, and there'll be a water marsh to do the most cleaning it can. But the cool part, when it first turns in, there's also this, it's kind of like a wall that moves up and down with the water flow, and so they just pull the top of the river out of the river, so they're pulling the cleanest water out, but it also means they can control flow on how much they're gonna bring in. And so we have water rights on how much water you can have, but you don't have to take all of it at the same time. So what they're suggesting is that we run a lot of water during the summer when people are really using it. In the winter, you bring it way down so that you're not wasting your water when people aren't on it as much. So that's what I think will happen. It's not ever going to be the wild river it ever was again, which is good because we don't want it to flood, right? People have lived through a flood. That is awful. So none of that is changing. But it will be this cool waterway that we'll get to have a lot of fun with. So hopefully fishing and all that too with the Corps. That's what we're hoping.